My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But this movie came out and everybody hated it. I think it's one of the worst reviewed modern superhero movies with like 26%. The Martha moment was one giant joke. And the movie also did a terrible job setting up the DCEU. The partnership between Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman felt very rushed. People had criticisms with the Justice League angle of this movie, and the fact it ended with Superman dying, it just killed so much excitement for this universe. And even I hated this movie when it first came out, but years have passed. Time has been kind to this movie, and looking at it as its own individual movie, I really dig it now. I do like how it's this grand epic movie of conflicting ideologies, and there is some legitimate thematic depths to this movie that Man of Steel failed to deliver on. The whole idea of Superman being on Earth is fully explored. This all-powerful being, a god among men, and how that affects our perception of everything. And how it also makes us feel not safe, because if Superman has one bad day, that could cost many lives. You know, there's one line by Bruce Wayne where he says, if there's even a 1% chance that he could wipe us out, we have to treat it as an absolute certainty. And I love that line, because if Superman did turn evil, like, that's it. We're done. So the whole idea of them using kryptonite as a backup just in case is so smartly written into the script. And then you've also got some great character work with Bruce Wayne. Well, that opening scene where he's in Metropolis at the end of Man of Steel is excellent, because it smartly addresses criticisms people like me have with that movie, but it also serves as a foundation for this meaner, more brutal Batman. Because just feeling hopeless with Superman on Earth, and the amount of people he's lost in his lifetime, Batman is just not holding back in any way. And I love watching this character grow throughout this movie. And then we've got Superman, who's just trying his best, but falls short time and time again. And when he falls short, people die. And he's like not trying to cause destruction, but he is, and he's just a flawed character. And I like how Lex Luthor is purposely manipulating things into making him look bad, whether it's the conflict early on with Lois in that one country, or the Capitol bombing, which is a really effective moment. Lex is just making things worse for him, and he's just hated by so many people, and how that affects his view of mankind. And at the end of the day, it's what his mom and Lois thinks of him that carries him through. And this whole idea that if he ever lost them, then his human side will vanish is just really compelling. And it kind of shows that Batman is right, but also there's just a level of depth here. And I love how Lex is actively pushing him as much as he can in the last act. I love that one line where if he's all good, he can't be all powerful. But if he's all powerful, then he can't be all good. Just very compelling stuff there. And the actual Batman v Superman part of this movie lives up to the expectations. The characters and their conflicting ideology is really well thought out, and the fight itself is fantastic. So, like, 80% of the story here I really love. And then we get to the cast, and Ben Affleck is one of the best Batmans we've got. If we're talking live action, I would say Michael Keaton, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck easily as the top three Batman. He just plays this older Bruce Wayne so perfectly, and he just carries this movie incredibly well when he needs to. He really sells you on everything his character is going through. So, Ben Affleck, I'm a big fan of him as Batman. It's a real shame he was done dirty. And then we've got Henry Cavill, who I think is the perfect choice for Superman. But I don't feel like these movies did him as well as they could have. I think he's better here than he was in Man of Steel. But I still wish he brought a little more to this character. You watch a movie like Man from U.N.C.L.E. and he's so likable and so charismatic. I would like a bit more of that here. Amy Adams is also a bit better here, but still far away from her best work. Jesse Eisenberg plays Lex Luthor, and I'll never forget when he was announced because people thought it said Heisenberg, like Bryan Cranston, and they got excited. But no, it's Jesse Eisenberg, and everybody hates him as Lex Luthor, but not me. I think he's great in this movie. For the type of Lex Luthor they're going for, he plays it so well in how he's just this weird, socially awkward loser. And I kind of like that we get a different take on the character here. Diane Lane, I think, gives a good performance. Lawrence Fishburne is good in this movie. Jeremy Irons is my favorite Alfred. Like, do not get me wrong, I love Michael Gore, I love Michael Caine, but Jeremy Irons here is the Alfred I've always wanted to see. Like, the Batman cartoon from the 90s brought to life. And I just love his voice, I love the way he acts, just the way he's written. A perfect Alfred. Holly Hunter's in this movie for a bit, and I think she does a good job. And we get introduced to Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, and she's fine, I guess. She's really unneeded in this movie, but she's not terrible. And then we get to the directing by Zack Snyder, and I think he actually does a pretty good job for the most part. I do love how he brings Batman to life here. Like, not just Ben Affleck, but I love the look of the Batmobile. I think it's very badass. I love the Batcave. I love the Batman costume. And I know this might be a very odd thing, but he nailed the most important part of the character for me. And it's the entrance to the Batcave. The fact the lake opens up and he drives in down this tunnel, it's a dream come true for me. I absolutely love that. I think like 85% of this movie's visuals are fantastic. I really like how Zack Snyder's sensibilities work here. Like the slow motion at the beginning with Thomas and Martha dying. How the gun pulls the necklace apart is a really cool visual. The movie flies by for the most part. Like, it's a very well-paced movie, very tight, and the action is great. Between the Batman and Superman fight, or the Batmobile chase, or the warehouse scene, so much of the action is great, and Hans Zimmer's and Junkie XL score is mostly great. I love the theme to Lex Luthor. Just works perfectly. I still just hate that Wonder Woman theme though. That hate it. It doesn't fit the character at all. But if you notice, I said the story is 80% great. The visuals are great 85% of the time. The action's mostly great. It's mostly well paced. So I do got some issues, and let's just begin with the obvious, and it's Doomsday. He's a terrible, unnecessary addition to the last act. I would rather they've gone with Lex Luthor in that big green suit over Doomsday. It's just too much. Now, I get the idea of the kryptonite coming into play and how Batman's plan actually really did help save the day and Superman willing to sacrifice himself. Those are all really strong notes. But my goodness, Doomsday is just a hideous CGI disaster. And the blasts that just wipe out mouths, it's too much. There's too much destruction. And they keep going out of the way to say there's nobody there. It's inhabited. But it's still just too much. I really hated everything with Doomsday. And let's talk the big controversy with Martha, because I get what they're going for about Batman realizing just how far gone he is, how he's more like Joe Chill than he is like his parents, and how he's lost himself, and realizing that Superman has people who love him and that there is a human side to him. I get all that, but the execution just feels like they realized that Batman's mom's name was Martha and Superman's mom's name was Martha, and they tried to interconnect that, and it just doesn't work. The execution is bad, but the idea is good. The lowest plot is the least compelling part of the movie. It's just kind of unneeded, I guess. I really think you could have had a simpler opening inciting incident that didn't need all this background reporting going on. Speaking of the opening, the movie cuts to black a few too many times to the point where it does affect the pacing a little bit, and the ending goes on for far too long. It's ending, then ending, then ending, just end already. So that's where the pacing kind of falls flat for me, but for the most part it's great. And the Justice League stuff is abysmal. The random flash forward of Bruce Wayne going up against Superman is just so unneeded, and then Flash traveling through time to give him a message. And then the emails, like the fact that Wonder Woman gets the emails while Batman's waiting for Superman is just odd, that he's like on his phone emailing her while he's waiting. Just none of that works for me. I don't know if that was Zack Snyder or if the studio forced that in, but it just kills this movie, because everything else in this movie is great. It's compelling, it's well written, it's got some emotional depth to it. But the Justice League stuff and the Doomsday stuff just, I don't want to say kills, but it holds back an otherwise great movie. It just feels like they are rushing into the Justice League movie, and it's just really frustrating. So look, like I said, I love so much of this movie. I love this portrayal of Batman. I think the cast does a great job. I love the conflicting ideologies. I love the level of thematic depth to this movie. I think it's got some great action. I think it's well paced. I think it's got a strong visual style for the most part. So I love so much of this movie. And it is one of my favorite DCEU movies, but there's just this stuff that if you cut out, I feel like you could have one of the best comic book movies ever made. But instead you just got a damn good movie, so I'll give Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice a 7 out of 10. Okay, have you seen Batman v Superman? What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin